Hi everybody, I'm Kaveri. I'm a third year medical student in Bangalore, India. In this video, I'll be talking about how to write an MBBS answer effectively to get good marks in your exams. A lot of you might be wondering that one of your friends would have scored well just because he or she wrote their paper very well, even though you knew exactly the information as much as he or she knew. Or you might feel like you got less marks in your exams just because you did not put all that you knew properly in the paper. If you're wondering about all these things, you're in the right place. In this video, I'll give you 7 super tips that will help you ace your exams and help you manage your time so that you can do extremely well in your exams and score very good marks. Without any further delay, I'll get started. The first and the most important point is to categorize your answers. If you do not categorize your answers and write it just like a big paragraph, it is just going to look like a black and white newspaper when it is scanned. So it is very important to categorize and give headings and subheadings to all the different topics in your answer so that your paper will look more presentable and it will definitely create a good first impression. I'll explain this to you with the help of an example. I'll be showing you how I write my paper. This is the paper of my ENT internals and we had a question for 10 marker and we had to write about acute suppurative otitis media. So firstly, I gave the heading as acute suppurative otitis media, after which I explained about it in 2 lines. If you don't have any small explanation, you can just write the definition about the question that is asked. After which I wrote about the etiology, that is the cause, and the roots of infection. Now, etiology and roots of infection were not asked in the question, but I wrote it. Just one line of extra points will definitely fetch you extra marks. After which I wrote about pathology and clinical features. Now, this was what was asked in the question. And here, if you take acute suppurative otitis media, it has 5 stages through which it will progress to the actual disease. So first one is stage of tubal occlusion. I wrote about it and I wrote a line on the symptoms at this stage and the signs that the doctors will see during this stage. After which second one is the stage of pre-suppuration. I wrote about it and then symptoms and signs. And then is the stage of suppuration, symptoms, signs. And then the fourth stage of resolution, and the final stage, that is stage of complication. If you see here, I have categorized everything and I have underlined all the categories along with underlining symptoms and signs. And the end of the paper was the treatment part. I've written treatment and I've underlined all the important treatment measures and explained. I have written one line about each with examples. This is my answer. And then it continued. I have 2-3 points in the next page also. Now, if you look at my paper, I have categorized everything. I have underlined all the subheadings. And if there are any important lines or points or words in my explanation, I have underlined even those. And this is the same for every question. Now there's a question of rhinosporidiosis. I have explained it, epidemiology, life cycle. Under life cycle, there is the tropic stage, there is development of sporangium, there is production of endospores. I've put a diagram pertaining to it and clinical features. This way I have written my entire paper. Categorizing is very important because it will add a good structure to your paper. It will make your paper look more presentable. A good first impression will always matter a lot. Any teacher won't have enough time to read all that you've written. So when you write it in points, in categories, they will have time to read. When they see that you have underlined something, they know that you have explained about it. So it will be a time saver for them and it will increase your chances of scoring well in the exams. The second point is classify whatever possible. When you give an appropriate classification to each and every answer, it will add to your paper like anything. Classification is the essence of the entire answer. Once you classify your answer properly, it is going to give an impact that you know the entire answer. I will show you how I classify and I have written 2-3 questions in the previous internals where I have classified. So I'll show you how it is. So we had a question on keratoplasty and I had to give the types of keratoplasty. Now if I had put it in points, it would take a lot of time and page and effort. Instead, if you put a classification for it, it is so easier and it will save a lot of time. Now keratoplasty is of two types. It is autokeratoplasty and allografting or allokeratoplasty. In autografting there are two again, rotational and contralateral. Coming to allografting, there is penetrating, there is small patch graft and lamellar, and lamellar has anterior and posterior lamellar keratoplasty. So when I give a classification, it is going to look more better in the paper and also tell you exactly what are the types and classify it accordingly so that you will get more marks in your exam. Coming to second example, we had a question on astigmatism, and astigmatism for 5 marker is such a big question. You'll have to write a lot. Instead, there are so many types of astigmatism and the types are only the essence of the question. You have to explain about each and everything. Instead, I put a small classification about regular and irregular astigmatism. Okay, so in irregular there are only two, curvatural irregular and index irregular astigmatism. But in regular there are 5 types. So instead of explaining everything, I knew it would take a lot of time. I just put a diagram to each and everything. Now for simple myopic, when I put this diagram, it is going to tell you everything as to what happens in simple myopic. Similarly, in simple hypermetropic, in compound myopic, compound hypermetropic and mixed, I put appropriate diagrams so that this is the entire answer and it will tell you what happens in each type of these astigmatisms. The third super point is flowcharts and tables to your rescue. As I already told you, no one is going to have a lot of time to read exactly what you have written. And paragraphs don't make your paper look presentable. So always make sure that wherever possible you insert a flowchart. Now when you draw a flowchart, it automatically tells the examiner that you know the concept. It is like the Feynman's theory. Only if you know a concept well, you can make it concise and explain it in simpler terms in small sentences in a flowchart. If you don't know, if you haven't understood the topic, you cannot put an appropriate flowchart. So when you put a flowchart, it directly indicates to the examiner that you have understood the concept, and that is why you are able to put the flowchart. And coming to tables, see, there are so many questions where you'll have to differentiate between one another, or you'll have to write some points. See, instead of writing it in a different paragraph, you can just put a table and write. It will make your paper look presentable. If I have to take an example, we had a question on differential diagnosis of acute red eye. If you can see, I have just put a table. It was a 3-marker question, so I had to write just 5 or 6 other conditions. But along with it, because I had time, I put a small table about 3 important differential diagnostics. They are the acute conjunctivitis, acute iridocyclitis and acute congestive glaucoma. So it was for a 3-marker, right? I have given 6 other conditions. Along with it, I have given 2 explanational points for these 3 conditions. So it is like a sure shot. I'll be definitely getting 3 on 3. That is why it is important for you to put flowcharts and tables wherever possible to make your paper look beautiful. The fourth super point for you is to become an artist. You can always include as many images and cycles in your paper as possible. Now subjects like biochemistry and PSM are so dry and there aren't any images that you can put. So you can put as many cycles as possible and explain your paper well. And coming to so many other subjects like anatomy, images are the essence of paper. And if I have to tell you, you can just pass an anatomy exam just by drawing images and not by writing anything also. So images play an upper hand and it will increase and boost your paper's efficacy and you will score a lot of marks. Now if I have to show you with an example, we had a question where we had to show the production of endospores. So after explaining about it, I put 3 diagrams as a trophocyte and a sporangium, and where the sporangium ruptures and releases spores. Even though the diagram is very simple, it will convey all that it has to convey. So I will be getting extra marks for this. And if I have to take one more example, we had a question about tympanic membrane. It was a 5-marker question where we had to explain about, we had to draw a picture about tympanic membrane. So this is a diagram of tympanic membrane that everyone draws. But if you have time, it is always wise for you to add so many other simpler diagrams also. So there was one more diagram which is very simpler. So I put that diagram also. It shows the tympanic membrane. That was a coronal section of the tympanic membrane. And there was one more diagram, simple diagram showing the radial, circular and parabolic fibers of pars tensa of the tympanic membrane. It is such a simple diagram. It does not have a lot of marking also. So whenever you have chance to draw a lot of diagrams, even though if they are very simple and if you feel like it doesn't have any sense or it doesn't add much also, you draw, because a diagram always conveys 10 times more than whatever you have written in your papers. Coming to community medicine, I told you that there are not many images and you can always make your paper look good with the help of so many cycles like this. So I had to write about the study designs to test a hypothesis. So there are two main study designs. They are the case control study and the cohort study. So explaining this will take one page each, if you know, because it is a lot to explain. Instead, if you put a small cycle or a flow chart as to how it happens, it is going to save a lot of time and explain all that is needed. Now coming to a cohort study, now what is the population that is selected? It is the people without disease in this case, and then it can be classified into exposed and not exposed, and in each I can put disease and no disease. Instead of drawing this, if I had to explain it in words or points, it would take an entire page and I had to write each and every sentence. Here the single word will indicate what will be there in the entire sentence, and so it is very good for you to put cycles wherever possible. The fifth important bit is to prefix a time for each and every answer that you will be writing in your paper. Now what happens if you don't prefix a time is that you tend to override the answers. See, you might be a pundit in the topic, you might know a lot of information in the topic, but in a board exam your ultimate goal should be to finish the topic in a given time so that you can answer all the questions and get more marks. Now when you prefix a time as to how much you'll be giving for a 10 marker or a 5 marker or a 3 marker, it will increase your efficacy. Your brain and hands will act in sync, your hands will write fast, you will think faster, and this way you'll be able to manage time and finish your paper in the given set of time. Like 3 hours you'll be finishing your paper and you'll be able to answer all the questions that are there in the paper. The sixth point is plan before paper. It is always wise for you to fix the number of pages for each answers. If you fix the number of pages for each answers, you don't tend to overwrite. Once the fixed pages are done, you will know that is how much you'll be writing and you will go to the next question. If you don't prefix time, a lot of time it so happens that you will know a lot and you tend to write down a lot. And one more thing that is very important in planning is for you to know what questions you'll be answering first. In a medical exam, if you are answering a 5 marker or 3 marker first, it is always good, because in a 5 marker or 3 marker, there is always a chance for you to score 4 or 3 on 3 whenever your answer is right. So always go for 5 or 3 markers first. If you go for 10 marker, because the question is so big, you will end up writing a lot, waste of time, and at the max you will be getting only 6 or 7. So it is of no use at all. If you write 10 marker at the end, and if you have carefully noted, there are always 2 or 3 subtopics in the 10 marker. And if you just write 2 lines for each subtopic, you will be getting 1 or 1.5 mark for each subtopic. So if you just write a 1-page answer which is qualitative and has the important needed points for each of the subtopics, you will still be getting 4 or 5. And someone who has written 3 to 4 pages of good information, has given an explanative answer, will get only 6 or 7. So it is always better to go for the 10 marker at the end and just try to attend all the 3 subtopics or 4 or 2, whatever subtopics are given in the 10 marker, because each has different. Each subtopic will be assigned marks differently, and if you just attended properly with small qualitative lines, you'll be getting more marks. Now I have made separate video on how you can manage your time in your exams. I will leave the link of that video in the iCard somewhere here. Please click on it and watch it. I have given some very important tips for people to manage time in the exam. This video is all about how you can write your exam, but that video is all about how you can manage time. Combining these 2 videos will show you amazing positive results. So do watch that video also. Coming to the last point, that is super point number 7, it is to add clinical correlation or the disease related to any question that is given. If I have to explain with the example, let's take the paper anatomy where you are asked to write about duodenum. So what will you write? So duodenum, you will start with a small image diagram, and then you will explain about the 4 parts of duodenum, and then the length of each, and then the structures passing in front of it, behind it, the arterial supply, nerve supply, the lymphatic drainage, and some peculiar features, right? After you write all these, just make sure to write about 1 or 2 clinical correlation. It can be a duodenal ulcer or a tumor or anything that you find is very appropriate to the answer. All your classmates are going to write everything that is there in your anatomy textbook. But if you write a clinical correlation, that will increase your chances of scoring higher, because none of the others would have written it most of the times. Even though your clinical correlation is just 1-liner, it will obviously fetch you half to 1 mark extra. So make sure that you put that clinical correlation in all your answers. Every subject, every question will have a suitable and related clinical correlation to it. So don't forget and put it at the end of your answers to get extra mark compared to others. That's it. These are the 7 super points that you can follow and write your answers. Now, given that there are 7 super points, it is not necessary or it is not possible for one to apply all these in each and every question. Some of the questions will not have classification, or some of the questions will not have image, and some of the questions can't have flow charts, cycles, or tables. So it is always wise to choose what will fit in an answer and try to put as much as possible in each answer to make it look more presentable. Whenever possible, just try to make sure that your handwriting looks better. Good handwriting will always fetch a lot of mark. You can't train yourself, just try to write neatly whenever possible. Manage your time, stay calm, and don't stress. When you don't stress, it will automatically help you remember a lot more, and you can do very well in your exams. I've made so many other videos on how to not flunk in exams, how to write an exam effectively, how to study for exams, how to get distinctions, how to read from big books, and so many more, which are very helpful to medical students and any students who are watching these videos. I suggest you to watch all those videos also. I'll leave links of all those videos in the description box below. Watch those videos and get benefited from those. All the best for your exams. Do well. And if you have watched this video till now, and if you found the content useful, please hit that like button, subscribe button, bell icon, and share my videos with all your friends who like content like this. I'll be coming up with more content like this which are very useful to medical students. So be tuned to the channel. That's all for now. Until next time, bye bye.